So we started discussing the CDF of a random variable, which I remind you is the function for any random variable, which is the probability that it's less than or equal to. So its value f is the CDF. Its value at some x is the probability that it is capital X is less than or equal to small x for any x. And we gave some examples, and we proved this important property, this important theorem about the properties of the CDF. So it is 1 on the right, 0 on the left, and is weakly increasing and is right continuous. So roughly the CDF looks like so. For any random variable, so it should sort of grow like that. Okay, roughly. Of course, it can be equal and so on. Can be constant, like in our examples, but roughly it should. It should start at 0 and end at 1, and it should be weakly increasing. Okay. So one piece of notation that we will use. If a random variable x has CDF as a cumulative distribution function f, we will write x tilde f, and we'll read it as x is distributed as f. Has CDF f. Okay, so now, what can we get out of the CDF? The important fact is that all information about x is contained in it. So everything you want to know about the random variable can be determined by f. Okay, so for example, can someone tell me what is the probability that a is less than x is less than or equal to b? Remember?
FB minus FA.
Right, so I heard the right answer from somebody. Yes, I don't know who said that, but yes, that is correct. So this is FB minus FA, and this the strict inequality on the left and weak inequality on the right is precisely because f is defined to be probability of x less than or equal to x. Okay, so that's exactly. So you can get probabilities of our random variable living in some interval very clearly. Okay, so now I'm going to describe two kinds of important random variables that we are going to be dealing with throughout the course. So the first one we have is the one that we are most familiar with so far. So two kinds of random variables. The first random variables are called discrete random variables. So let me define these. Random variable is said to be discrete, let me do it this way. So which takes on at most a countable number of values is called a discrete random. I'll usually write RV for random variable, but since this is a definition, I want it to be self-contained. Okay, so many of the examples that we have been playing around with, like coin tosses, dice throws, etc., all of these have been discrete random variables. So for a discrete random variable, there is of course, as I said, the CDF describes the random variable completely, but there is something a little more elementary or a little more fundamental, let me say, which describes it, and that's what I'm going to define now. So for a discrete random variable, now x, the probability mass function, this is or PMF, is given by, this is conventionally denoted by small p. So P of x is the probability that x is equal to this. Okay. So this is where all the, so by definition, there exists countable numbers x1, x2, etc., such that P of x is positive if and only if x is equal to xi for some I. Right? So what I was saying was that there is a there are only countable values where all the probability lives. One often makes an analogy with masses. I mean, with the physical notion of a mass. So then, so you want to think of probability being as some kind of mass 1, and it being distributed in various places. So one, for example, in our coin, when we talked about tossing two coins and y being the number of heads, we say that the mass of y is living in at 0.01 and 2. So one sort of makes this analogy, and this analogy will be strengthened very soon at the end of this class, towards the end of this. So because of this property, we have that sigma I equals 1 to infinity, P of xi is equal to 1. Right? So when I'm going to talk about, okay, so maybe I should have written, okay, so let me write something else before this. Sigma over x in R, P of x equal to x is equal to this sum. So this looks like a uncountably infinite sum, but that's not true, because we are talking only about discrete random variables. So this is a countable sum, and because this the mass is non-zero only on countably many values. Okay. So as I said, Okay, so now how do we relate the PMF to the CDF?
Sir,
yes?
Can you please explain the last point, like why should the mass be distributed only on finite points?
No, that's the
Finite number of
definition.
points.
Not finite points, countable points. So, so here, I mean, this kind of sum is usually not well defined, right? I mean, because I'm summing over all reals, so that this usually blows up. But because the PMF, but because the discrete random variable takes on at most countably many values, this quantity P of x equal to x, which is again P of x, small p of x, is strictly positive only for finitely many points. So this sum is really a discrete sum. It's not like a continuous sum, which makes no sense. Okay.
Yes, I got it.
Okay. So,
sir, are countable number of points and finite number of points are different or same?
well, finite is countable, but countable is not finite, right? I mean, the set of natural numbers is countable, but not finite.
Okay.
Yeah. So, of course, finite is included here. So, it is possible that there are only finitely many points. It'll just become clumsy if I, divide those two cases. Yeah, but finite is very much included. So for our example of two coin tosses, y equals number of heads in two coin tosses. We wrote down, we plotted the CDF last time. Remember, this was the CDF. Let's say fair coin tosses. So then I can write down the PMF. So maybe you can tell me. So remember that y lives in this finite set 0, 1, 2. And so I can say what is P of y, let's say P of x. What is this equal to? Can someone tell me?
So it
If
will
x,
be,
if x is equal to 0, then we have 1 by 4.
Correct.
If x is equal to 1, then we have 1 by 2. And
Yes.
if x is equal to 2, then we have 1 by 4.
Correct. And nothing else. If you like, I will write 0 otherwise. Okay. So I mean, you can see these are the three values where the mass lives in some sense, and so the probability mass, and so these are the quantities. And how would you get 1/4 at 2 from here? You would take the difference. So in general, how do you relate the CDF? The CDF F can be read off from the PMF P, probability mass function P by f of x is the sum over all xi is less than or equal to x. It's important to have it equal to P of x. Right? So for any value here, I pick all the things, let's say half, I pick all the values which are less than half. There's only one, so the value at this point half is 1/4 as it checks out. And if you want the value at 1, you have to take all the things which are less than or equal to 1, so in this case 0 and 1, and you have to sum these values. So it's half plus 1/4, which is 3/4, and that's what it is. Okay, so like that. And so I leave it to you to figure out how to read off the PMF from the CDF, given that it's a discrete random. Okay, So let me give you some examples. So we will spend a lot of time on examples of discrete random variables. There are many important classes of random variables, but let me do some trivial ones or easy ones now, not completely trivial. Okay, so the first one is the constant random variable, probably the most boring random variable. So fix some real number C and let x of s equal to C for all s in S. I don't really care what the sample space is. You choose your sample space, whatever you like. Choose your experiment, choose your sample space, choose your sigma algebra, do whatever the hell you want. But I'm going to say my x of my random variable will always take the value C. Okay? So for this, I want you to tell me what the PMF is. Then the PMF P of x equal to what? Is equal to what?
So it will be C if x is in S, otherwise it will be.
No, that's not right.
So it will be the direct delta of C.
Sorry?
It will be the direct delta at C.
Yeah, but Dirac delta is not a well-defined function.
Sir,
No, it's
it will
not
be
actually. Sorry, no, that's wrong. It's not the Dirac delta. Yes, Aditya?
it will be 1 by cardinality of the sample space.
Oh, no. Oh boy. Okay, so this is more confusing than I thought. Okay. Oh, so I thought this was easy, but okay, so maybe you guys are getting confused. So x takes the single value C. So remember what we said, the PMF is positive only on the values that x takes. So, okay?
Okay, sir, it will be 1 for C and otherwise it will be 0.
Correct. So who said that? Yes, Aditya. So it's 1 when x is C. Oh, sorry, it should have been C and 0 otherwise. I'll use O/W for this. Okay? It's a silly function. It just takes value 1 at C and nothing else. Okay? So maybe this burbard about sample space confused you. It just takes value C, so it doesn't matter what the sample space is, etc., etc. We just care about its value and the corresponding probabilities, because it takes the value C for every element of the sample space, and we know the probability of S is 1. Therefore, it takes value 1 at x equal to C. Okay, is this point clear?
So please repeat once again, sir, this point.
Okay, sure. Anirudh. Okay, so what is the point? So I have some experiment. Okay, so I'm doing some experiment, so I have some sample space. And I'm saying that no matter what the experiment happens, whatever the outcomes happen, I'm going to declare that my random variable is C. In other words, it's a deterministic random variable. So let me emphasize that. So there is no randomness at all. My random variable outputs C no matter what happened. Okay, so it's deterministic. So that's why it's boring. There is no randomness there. So therefore, I want to know now. So my okay. So therefore, so it's a discrete random variable because it lives on only one point, which is C. Right? It does not take any other value. So there's exactly one x where this condition is satisfied, and that's x equal to C. And now what is the probability there? I mean, you can argue either by the fact that the total probability is 1 and there is only one value, so it has to be 1, or from the fact that for every S in capital S, which I remind you is a member of the sigma algebra by definition, it takes value c. This my random variable takes value c. So my x for the event capital S, x is equal to 1. It's the same value at all points there. So therefore the probability. Okay. All right. And what is the CDF? Okay. Again, I want someone to tell me.
So it will be 0 when x is less than c, and when x is greater than or equal to c, it will be 1.
Very good. Yes. Yes, Soham is right. So it's 0 when x is less than c, and is 1 for x greater than or equal to c. Okay. So again, this is maybe I plot it. So this is again. Okay. Let's say c is somewhere here. So my function is going to look like so. It's 0 over here and. Okay, so utterly boring. So there is a single jump. Let's see. Okay. All right. So good. I hope that clarified some things. Okay. So the next important example is what's called a Bernoulli random variable. Okay. So I'm starting to use RV now for random variables. Okay. Okay, so this is, this was the first deterministic guy, you know, it lived on only one point C. So what's the next non-trivial case? Well, let's take 2 points. So for simplicity, let me take x belonging. So x lives on 2 points, 0 and 1. And now I have to tell you something, I mean, because now it lives on 2 points, I have to say how the probability lives. So fix some p between 0 and 1 inclusive. I mean, it can take any of these values, and declare or set the PMF or define PMF to be P of x is equal to P when x is 1 and 1 minus P when x is 0. I'm not saying 0 otherwise every time. I mean, I think it's clear. X lives in 0 and 1, so it can take only these 2 values. Okay? So what does this remind you of? Does this remind you of some example that we have seen many times?
Sir, and it reminds that the event that capital X equal to 1 happens with probability.
No, that's okay. No, I mean a real life experiment.
Sir, a coin toss?
Coin toss, that's right. Yeah, I don't know who said that. Yes, coin toss. So this is a coin toss, for example, with heads probability P. Okay, so if P is 1, this is like that Cholet coin, and if P is half, this is a fair coin. But in general, this is a generic coin. So you can think of this as a coin toss. But there are many other situations where you can where this random variable, where the Bernoulli random variable applies. So it's kind of a building block. Okay, this you can. Okay, so maybe I'll give you a slightly more non-trivial example. So pick. Suppose we have our probability space S. Sample space S, sigma algebra F, and probability function P. Okay, fix some event A. An event. Okay, and define the indicator function You might have heard of indicator functions in your 101 and 102 of A, B, IA of X. So indicator function, so let me make sure that you understand the domain. So the indicator function is a function from the sample space to R, and what is it? It takes value 1 if X is in A and 0 otherwise. Okay, so it indicates, the name is clear, it indicates whether a number is in A or not. Okay, so now this is a function which has domain the sample space range R, and you can see that for any real number X, the probability that the indicator is less than or equal to X, I mean the set of values in S for which X is less than or equal to X is in the sigma algebra, because we took by definition A to be in the sigma algebra. So then this IA is precisely a Bernoulli random variable with what value of P? Does someone want to tell me?
So 1.
No, not at all.
P is equal to P of A.
P of A, exactly. Yes, Aditya, right? This is P of A. Because so okay, one way of thinking of Bernoulli random variables is as successes and failures, and so something happened, some random event happened, and you want to say it's a success or a failure, and we call P the success probability. And so, what is the probability that you succeeded in this sense? It's the succeeded means that you landed in A, and that's why you got 1. Right? 1 was the P was associated to 1. So the probability of success for us is precisely the probability. Okay. All right. So there are. So let me stop with discrete random variables for now. We are at the halfway mark, so this is a nice point to move on. As I said, there are many important families of random variables, and we will be spending a lot of time in the coming days. Okay. But for now, let me move on to another important class of random variables. Now is where a lot of subtlety will start. But are there any questions about discrete random variables so far? Oh, so maybe I should do. Okay, I forgot. So the CDF. So I want you to tell me what the CDF of. So maybe I should say. So I will denote this as Bern P. This is going to be a standard terminology. I'll remind you about this later when we talk about important families. So the CDF, what is the CDF of the Bernoulli P random variable? So I want you to tell me. So
if x is less than 0, then the value will be 0.
Correct.
If x is between 0 and 1, with then the value will be 1 minus p.
Correct.
And if x is greater than equal to 1,
yes,
then the value will be 1.
Exactly. So you see, so it's a bit unfortunate, but in the CDF, the value that appears will be 1 minus p, not p. So again, let me plot it quickly. So let's say, okay, I should have used blue. Okay, no, okay, no. So let's say this is 1 minus p, this is 1, this is 0, and this is 1, this is 0. So then my value would look like this. Right? So is everybody understanding why it's 1 minus p and not p? Because for any value x between 0, strictly between 0 and 1, the only the only contribution comes from x equal to 0. Right? And that has value 1 plus. Okay, very good. So this is, as I said, one important family. So are there any questions about discrete random variables before I move on? I'm going to, shift gears drastically. Okay, there's something in the chat, but R is the codomain. Yes, we could have taken 0, 1. Yes, for indicators, it's 0, 1. But the point is just that the point of writing it this way is just to remind you that this is a random variable. Okay, it has sample space. It has domain sample space and codomain R. Anything else? Yeah. So I think I have answered that. Okay, so now let me go to the next.
Excuse me, sir.
Yes.
So for the indicator function, sir, can we make the CTF of that also?
Didn't I do that? Here it is. Oh, for the indicator function. It's the same. It's the same with P replaced by P of A. It's exactly the same.
Okay, sir.
Yeah.
So there was x belongs to A. For that case, how would we figure out that one?
So A. It doesn't matter, no? The random variable, okay, so see, okay, so this, I think there's this issue. So, right. So you performed some experiment. Okay, so there is behind the scenes, there is this probability space. Okay. I have this event A. And now my indicator function is a random variable which only relates to A. Okay, so all the information about the randomness of A and randomness of IA is contained in this function with P, small p equal to capital with bold P of A. Okay, so don't get confused. The CDF and PMF will be functions on R. Okay, they're behind the scenes. There is a sample space, there's a sigma algebra, there's a probability function, there are events and so on. But at the end of the day, you only care, when I look at this, I'm only caring about whether event A occurred or not. Okay, I don't really care to know anything more about the event, the sample space, etc. Whatever is there is contained over here. Whatever is for my interest at this moment. Okay, if I care about some other property or some other event, some other random variable, then I'm going to need to know another PMF or CDF or what have you. Okay. There is no, you're not going to see an A somewhere here. It's not going to stare at you, except in this P, which is P of A. Yes, Kenneth?
Sir, I have a question regarding continuous random variables.
I have not even started continuous random variables, so you cannot
Okay.
ask a question about that. But Anirudh, did I answer your question?
Yes, sir. So I understood that PA contained all the information that we use x is equals to 1 is equals to p case.
Exactly.
And okay, got it, sir.
Yeah. So for any random variable or any discrete random variable for now, all the information is in the PMF. The PMF will just be a bunch of numbers and a bunch of their values. Okay. And before I move on, let me give you an example of a countable random variable. So let's say x lives in the natural numbers, by which I mean 1, 2, 3, etc. With, and I'm giving you the PMF. P of n is the probability by definition that x equal to n. This is C by n into n plus 1. Okay, some constant divided by n into n plus 1, and I ask you to find C. This is maybe I leave it as an exercise. Okay, this is a non-trivial infinite, a countable discrete random variable. Okay, and I ask you to find C. It's not hard. Maybe you can do it in your mind. Okay. All right. So now I'm going to move on to continuous random variables. Okay. So now things get messy. Okay. So remember that I told you that events right at the beginning of the when we started probability, that events are more important than outcomes. So I gave you some examples of that also, but let me first define what it means to be a continuous random variable, and then I will explain what's going on. Okay, so here's the definition. A random variable x is said to be continuous if its CDF capital F can be expressed as f of x equal to minus infinity to x small f of u du for every x, for all x, let me say, for some integrable function small f. Okay, unfortunately this is split into 2 pages, but okay, I'm continuing the definition here. The function f, the function small f, is then called the probability density function. Or PDF. So this is the reason I don't want to call the CDF as a probability distribution function, rather as a cumulative distribution of x. Okay, and now maybe it's time to go back to this picture that I drew. So far the discrete random variables had a very boring kind of CDF. It was a piecewise constant CDF. It was constant, and then it went up, and then constant, and went up, etc. It started at 0 and ended at 1. Right? So it was always this kind of step function. Right? Piecewise constant functions are also known as step functions. Okay, but now we are going to have something interesting. Remember what the properties of the CDF are. As I said in the beginning, it starts at 0, ends at 1, and it's weakly increasing, and it's right continuous. So if I can express the CDF of my random variable as an integral of some function, then my random variable is going to be continuous. Okay, and this function is called the density, and the reason it's called density again is to reinforce this notion of probabilities being masses. So not being masses, being analogous to masses. So remember how, for example, in your physics classes in your high school, you would have calculated masses as integrals of densities. This is exactly the same idea. Okay. So if B is a quote unquote nice subset of R, then the probability of X being in B, having value inside B, is the integral over B of FUD. What do I mean by nice? Virtually any subset you can think of is nice. Okay, to see examples of non-nice subsets, you have to go into you have to take a math major, and when you go in your third year, you will see examples. But all the examples that we are going to be dealing with are going to be nice, and this is where all the complications are going to arise. You know, all the things that I said I'm going to sweep under the rug are all because of examples like these. Okay, so let me give you an example. I mean, why do we need to do such things? Okay, so remember I told you things like the sigma algebra, you cannot take it to be 2 power s for S being a continuous, an uncountably infinite subset, for example. So I ask you to pick a random number in 0, 1. Okay. And let me call it X. Okay. So now I ask you, so clearly X has uncountably many points in its domain, right? X takes values in all of the closed interval 0, 1. Okay, so now what's the problem? So if I ask you, so what do you think the probability of X equal to half is? What's the probability that someone is going to pick exactly half?
0.
It's exactly 0. You see, this is the problem. So for any and there's nothing special about half. I mean, this is the same as probability of X equal to 1 by pi. Right? I mean, so on the other hand,
So,
yeah, just let me finish my sentence. It is reasonable to suppose that the 0.3, so I ask you what's the probability that X lives between 0.7 and 0.3, this should be 0.4. This should be the length of this interval. So I can talk about events, which means I can talk about subsets. So this is an example of B. So this is like B equals 0.3 to 0.7, right? So this is an example of a nice B, right? And yeah, so right. So yeah. So was there a question?
yes, sir, when you are writing small x and capital X, it is fine. Distinguish between them, which is small x and which is capital X.
Whereas I don't have small x anywhere.
Okay, then fine.
This is pi.
Okay.
Okay. Right. So as I said, capital X will be the random variable and small x will be the value. Okay. All right. So
Excuse me, sir.
yes.
So like in the starting, we defined P of A less than X less than equal to B is equals to FB minus FA. Sir, like if we, like in this same case,
Yes.
if we do that, so like we have like,
So here, yeah, so that exactly. So here, the probability of A less than X less than equal to B is what? This is the integral from A to B of FUD. Right? So this is the kind of analogy I was talking about. But were you going to ask something else, Anirudh?
so like I thought it would be FB minus FA, so I like thinking it would.
That is correct. That is correct. This is also equal to FB. That is always the case. Whether, so this thing that I mentioned at the beginning, this is always true, regardless of what kind of random variables there are. Okay, or what kind of random variables you are dealing with. Okay. Okay. So right. So now you can see something a little more funny, or corresponding to this. Your maybe you have already seen such things from 101. So therefore, if A equal to B, the probability of x equal to A is going to be the integral from A to A of FU du. And what is this?
That is 0.
This is exactly 0. As you have seen, I mean, a single point has no width. So so what we have is for any continuous random variable, the probability of any outcome is 0, right? And this is the reason, as I was saying, that you cannot, it's not enough to talk only about outcomes. You need to really, then you get nothing out just by talking about outcomes, because this is true for any continuous.
Sir,
Yes.
sir, how are we extending the above equation to the latter one? Because in the above equation we have A less than X is less than equal to B. So
Right.
both being equalities.
That's true. But this is also equal to, as you know from your 101.
Right. Yes. Yes.
So now I can take equal to.
Yes.
Yeah. I mean, this I wrote this because I wrote that earlier. But I could have taken A less than X less than B and whatever. All of them have the same integral, right? Because of this fact that the probability of, I mean, the width of any point is 0. Okay. Okay. So
Sir?
yes.
Sir, we defined, you said there are two types of random variables. We defined discrete random variables as ones that have take on at most a countable number of values, and then we defined continuous variables in terms of an integrable function. So how do we know? Of course, integration can only be done on such uncountable sets, but how do we know that all the random variables that are not discrete will come in the continuous case?
No, that is not true. So good. That's a good question. Let me emphasize that. I was going to do it later, but maybe just I'll write it as a remark. I mean, I'll give you two examples. So there are random variables which are neither discrete nor continuous. That's a good question. So let me give you one easy example and one. I will just say something about another class. So here is a random variable. Here's an experiment. Toss a coin. Oh, okay. I need some notation to. Okay. Okay. Let me say this later, Aditya. I will answer this question later. I need some notation to give you the example. Okay.
Okay, sir.
I'll certainly give you. If I forget, you please remember. Okay. So, but before I do that, I want to say, maybe in the last 5 minutes, I want to say something about the relationship between the PDF, the density function, and the CDF. So, okay, one other thing that I should have said, from our theorem, we must have that the limit as x goes to infinity plus infinity f of x is 1, but that is by definition equal to the integral from minus infinity fu du. This should be equal to 1. So this improper integral must converge to 1. If it doesn't, then this definition doesn't make sense. So, because remember, this capital F should be this integral of small f for all x. Okay, and by a theorem about the properties of capital F, this property has to be true. Okay, and okay, so that was one remark, and now
So,
yes.
why is this an improper integral?
Because it goes from minus infinity to infinity.
Yes.
Okay. Just a definition. Okay. So okay. So now if I give you small f, I can calculate capital F at any x by just this property. But how do I go the other way around? So to get from capital F to small f, what property do you use? We have
The Newton limit.
So the fundamental.
Yes.
The fundamental theorem of calculus.
That's right. We use the fact that d by dx of capital F is small by the fundamental. Okay, so if I give you the CDF, it has to necessarily be differentiable. Don't ask me why the derivative exists. It exists because capital F is the integral of some function, therefore we can differentiate. Okay, so I'm almost out of time. Let me tell you what the intuition should be. Yes?
So, doesn't that require small f to be continuous to apply the fundamental theorem of calculus?
Piecewise continuous. I mean, finitely many discontinuities. Yeah. I mean, countably many discontinuities is okay.
Oh.
Yeah. Okay, so what's the intuition behind this? So suppose, let epsilon be a small real number. Okay, now let me look around A. So here's my A, and let me look at an interval of width epsilon around A. Then the probability of A minus epsilon by 2 less than x less than A plus epsilon by 2. I mean, it can be less than or equal to, I don't care. This by definition is equal to the integral of A minus epsilon by 2 to A plus epsilon by 2 of fu du. And since epsilon is small, this is roughly So you have some function. So I'm plotting f. Plotting f. Let's say it goes like that. Test weakly increasing. Remember, so this is f of a, and I have these 2 points. So I want to. God, I'm terrible at this. So I want to calculate the area of this region, and this is approximately a rectangle if a is small, and this is width times height. So this is going to be epsilon times f of a, right? So what this says, so the intuition is that thus. So it doesn't make sense to say what is probability of x equal to a, but we can say that for a small region around a, the probability of x being in that region is proportional to f of a, and the proportionality constant is precisely the distance. And this f is now what? It's not the CDF, it's the PDF. So the probability that x lives in a small interval of size a, size epsilon around a is roughly proportional to epsilon f of a. And if you take epsilon going to 0, if you take the bit smaller and smaller, you are going to get, of course, 0. But you will get f of a if you divide by epsilon and then take the limit, right? As you have seen in your calculus class. So that is the intuition for what the PDF means. Okay. All right. So are there any questions about this? So next time we will do examples.
So in the last example of continuous random variables that you had given, we could also have written the probability, the cumulative distribution function to be x itself, like capital F of x is equal to x.
No. These are two very different things. Capital X is, okay, so maybe you're getting confused. So, okay, this is a good point to make this warning. For a continuous random variable x, x itself need not be a continuous function. Don't get confused between x and f. Okay? All we know from the definition of a continuous random variable is that its CDF can be written as an integral. And
yes,
so
sir.
Our intuition says it should look roughly like this. Okay?
Yes, sir. But in the last example, like if we consider the probability that capital X lies between 0 and some random number t, then the probability would be t minus 0, that is t. So
which example? Sorry, which I didn't. There is no example here. Which example are you talking about? This you mean this?
No, sir.
This one.
This one, yes, sir.
Yes. So I will do this example later on. Yeah. So in the next class.
Okay, sir.
Okay. But for now, I mean, I just want to illustrate the idea of. I mean, I said that all probabilities are 0, right? Any outcome. But I'm saying that there is still something that you can read off, and that is the probability of being in a small interval around a point. That from that you can read off the PDF.
Yes.
Okay, that was all I meant to say. Sorry, I again went over time, but there were a lot of questions. Yes, Kenan?
Sir, when we say that f is an integrable, it can be a step function, right? Small f, the PDF.
Yeah, small f can be a step function, but then capital F would still be continuous.
It will be discrete, no?
No, capital F will be continuous. Small, I mean, try doing the computation. Just take some step function and evaluate its integral.
Sir,
Yes.
sir, what do we mean by continuity of the random variable x?
Well, x is a function, no?
Yes, sir.
I
It
can
is
talk about
defined
its
in like
continuity.
sample space. So, like, how do we like relate it?
Well, okay. So if you take your sample space to be some subset of R, then you know what it means for continuity. In general, there are more abstract notions, but for now, if you assume that S is some subset of R, the reals, then you know what the notion of continuity is, and I'm saying that capital X need not be a continuous function for capital X to be a continuous random variable. These are two different things, and it's good not to get confused. The rough intuition is that capital X is a random variable corresponds to capital F being a continuous function. Okay.
Sir,
Yes, Aditya.
Sir, at a point of discontinuity of small f, what does that say about the probability of the function, the random variable being in that unit length?
Ah, very good. This is related to your earlier question. I will answer that in the next class. I need some notation. The reason I'm not answering it right now is just for notational sake. Yes, Anjanaya?
Sir, while defining the continuous RV, we are expressing it as an integral of fu du. So,
Yes.
sir, what is the variable u? We haven't defined it anywhere, no?
No, u is a dummy variable, no? This is just like, I could say ft dt, it doesn't matter. This is a definite integral. So I'm going to get a numerical answer at the end. For example, here. I'm going to get some number at the end. So this is not an indefinite integral. So this is u is a dummy variable.
Okay, so it is only used for representation.
Yeah, I mean, I don't want to say x because x is already there on the left hand side. But yeah, we use whatever variable you like.
Okay, sir.
Yeah, it's just dummy. Okay. All right. I've gone way over time. Sorry about that. So, but there were a lot of questions.